Hey kids, it's Englentine here talking about the new Marvel Generations book, The Thunder, starring Jane Foster and Thor. They keep naming him wrong, but in all actuality, this is probably the best of the books so far. That's not exactly a high ladder to climb, but still credit where it is due, and I will give this credit. First of all, let's get this straight. Any scene that does not have Jane Foster in it is not bad. This scene especially. I like the scenes between Thor and Odin, where he wants to lift the hammer. He wants to be worthy. He goes off to battle to become worthy. And I can understand that, because if you hear about warriors all the time, then your only idea of how to be worthy is to be the best warrior. So that's what he sets himself up as. And this is a Thor book that I would love to read. If they continued this, okay, cool. I would love it all the way through. I think this is really neat. So, and also he wants to be a god to the people of Midgard. He loves hearing their prayers and going to help them. He likes the worship, which is a bit vain and can also show why he is not so worthy of the hammer yet. So all of this setup is just aces. And then we get into the part where it was the preview. If you remember that, he goes down to Midgard because they prayed for his help, and he finds out it's Absurd, Apocalypse. So he begins to battle Apocalypse. And there it really falls apart, because right as the battle's about to begin, the lightning bolt comes down. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this? I don't know. It was a lightning bolt and I didn't cause it. What could it be? And then we get this majestic shot of Lady Jane as Thor. And I noticed that Thor himself never actually gets an entrance like this. But here's the big problem, and it starts on this page. Once Jane Foster shows up, the writing is out the window. Let's start off with the fact that seemingly Apocalypse and Apocalypse's army gives the two characters here time enough to have all of this dialogue. They're not fighting anymore. They're, okay, you guys talk it out. We'll wait here and then we'll continue the battle. Second of all, read this without reading any bit with Jane Foster in it. You'll get the same story. Like Logan and the Wolverine story, Jane Foster is not necessary to this one at all. And, well, at least they do have one scene right here where Thor says, you can't be Thor. My name is Thor. He actually says that. I am Thor. Yeah. And in all honesty, there's mistakes made coming up that kind of makes you think she knows this. There is a questionable spot right here where he says, how is it that I am unworthy and a wench like you is worthy to hold the hammer? And she says, maybe you're unworthy because you use a word like wench. Yawn. The only reason to include a line like that is because you have a virtue to signal. Otherwise, it makes no difference to the story whatsoever. So if you're feeling bored at this point, don't worry, because obviously Jason Aaron is also, because what he writes has nothing to do with what's on the page. Jane Foster feels most alive when she is fighting. When there is something in front of her, she can punch or throttle, for she cannot throttle the cancer that is ravaging her human form. And recently she has begun to wonder if she should bother having a human form at all. Why not live the life of a god forevermore? Why not hold the hammer until the end of time? The more she thinks those thoughts, the tighter the goddess of thunder grips her Mjolnir, and the more Jane Foster slips away. And I understand what's trying to happen here. She's questioning whether she wants to give up her humanity for godhood so she can live forever, all the while Thor almost worships humans as much as they worship him, because they do worship him, and he's a little bit vain like that. So he gives a rousing speech because they're losing. I guess they're losing the battle. Doesn't really show that, because it really doesn't focus on the fight at all. It's just the two of them. And Thor ends up giving this rousing speech about, if you die, I'll take you to Valhalla myself, and that's something that Apocalypse won't do. And so that riles him up to go into battle against Apocalypse and his army, which is something that Jane Foster notices while she's being captured. She looks down and she sees that he's able to get everybody to fight these impossible odds. And this makes her think a little bit about the fact that maybe her humanity is important for her being a good Thor. Here's a problem with this. Thor is Thor. He's not like Jane Foster, who has a personality to go back to if she doesn't want to be Thor, and especially not one that's cancerous and dying. Thor loves humans. Humans love Thor. That's not the same thing. Although Jason Aaron is trying to make a moral equivalency between the two for her to learn a lesson that's just not there to learn. This page right here is completely unnecessary to the story and ends up being just Loki fan service. And since every one of these freaking Generations books needs a chance to show that the new character's better than the classic, she just flies up, bored with talking to Loki, says somebody else needs to get hit. So she flies over and sucker punches Apocalypse in the face. Now this is not as bad as Jean Grey sucker punching Galactus in the back of the head and knocking him down, but you know, come on. And then in one of the worst edits of comic books I've ever seen, the two of them are suddenly side by side fighting, where, you know, that wasn't the angle they were at in the last page, but okay. And it's just saying that, hey, if one Thor was bad, Apocalypse will really hate two Thors. And then, oh my gosh, look at this, another pose page with, now Thor's on his goat? They were flying upwards, side by side. There is no more sequential art in Marvel Comics. Seriously. Well, no, that's not true. I actually praised Cable not too long ago for having sequential art. But this art does not tell a story. This art is a series of poses that are all the same thing, basically. This doesn't tell you where they are in the battle. The last picture didn't either. Are they winning? Are they losing? Is Apocalypse getting his final say? Are they in trouble? What's going on? Except for there's lightning. And Apocalypse is there. Now the dialogue says even Apocalypse can't stand against two Thors, but we don't know how the fight is going. So are we to assume they're winning? I don't know. If it was sequential, then we would understand the story. So let's see what the next page says. And then, okay. Wait, are they done with the fight? Was that the killing blow? What happened to Apocalypse? I mean, if they beat him, what did they do with him after that? I mean, this has no... Okay, sure, we know he said that he would take the people to Valhalla. They're all dead, by the way. And they make a joke about taking the nose from the Lion Man statue. So that got shot off, guys. But, yeah, it makes no sense at this point. There should have been some sort of segue that took us from Apocalypse to this point. So they're on the ship. Thor meets Lady Jane. Finally, they actually have a conversation once again. All these books seem to miss the point that if they're going to get together, they actually have to interact, not just fight together. And there's always this one page at the end, or 2 pages at the end, where they decide to actually have a very shallow conversation. And this one is too. It's your humanity, not your divinity, that makes you a fine god. So anyway, she goes back to the future, and he thinks that, okay, it was witchcraft, I knew it, and then he says he's going to bang somebody's wife. And just to prove to you that the stuff in the middle didn't matter, here we are exactly where we left off with him in the beginning, and it's all the same. And then the book cuts to Thor, or Odin, excuse me, talking to the Phoenix Force because they're going to be pushing Legacy. And I guess he's the Thor in 1 billion, whatever it's called, BC Avengers. And they're just talking about how Odin and the Phoenix got it on. And then, boom, they kiss, and it's basically, like I said, it's an advertisement for Legacy. And that's the whole book. That's it. So, final thoughts on it? It's the best of the generation so far. I really do believe that it is. The parts with Odin and Thor, the beginning, is the best writing that any Generations book has had. Like I said, though, the middle part is completely unnecessary for the ending we get. I really do feel they want to sell Jane Foster on this, but I don't think they even believe it, because there are parts where Jane Foster is in action and they still call Thor Thor and her Jane. So if they don't believe it, why should we? Which we don't. Most of us don't anyway. And, you know, overall, it just, the art is just plain. The story, as I've pointed out, is just, it's pointless, but all of these books have been pointless. So, you know, in that case, it's even Steven. But still, I think the beginning of the book makes it the better of the four that have come out so far. I don't know, but that's just my opinion. What's yours? Did you read it? What did you think? Is this the best of the generations? Is it the worst? Or is it just like all the others where it doesn't even rank best or worst on any list whatsoever? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, you know the drill. You've heard it a million times. If you haven't done this already, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Don't forget to hit like and share also. And head on over to our Patreon or our VidMe. And because we're going to have more stuff there since YouTube's become the censorship kings. And if you put $1 into the till, we do have patron-only content on both VidMe and Patreon, so it doesn't matter where you go to for that, and good things will happen. So anyway, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's already done that. Thank you to everybody who will do that, and to everyone, thank you very, very much for watching.
Cross the rainbow bridge of Ashtar.